Hello, I'm Peggy, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about my Adobe Illustrator process. The first thing you can see me doing up there is making a new layer to hold my character. I just name them with the first letter of their names because I make so many of them. And then I'm just jumping in with the pencil tool, which is what I do something like 90% of my drawings with. I've changed the settings on the pencil tools from their defaults. You can get to the pencil tool settings by double-clicking on its space in the toolbar. Let me overlay it here on the video. As you can see from looking there, I've turned on Fill New Pencil Strokes and Edit Selected Paths, and I've turned off Keep Selected. I find that when Keep Selected is on, it interferes with doing quick, rough sketches directly in Illustrator. But what's really important is the Fill New Pencil Strokes. That's how I'm able to quickly and interactively draw out all these solid colored shapes. It's very organic and really very natural, I find. A lot more natural than using the pen tool or building stuff out of shapes. It's really easy to quickly try a few different things, as you can see me doing here with this nose, and get something that works. Now around here you can see me brushing up against one of my rules of thumb, which is if I draw and undo something twice with the pencil tool, then it's time to switch to the pen tool. I don't actually do that here, but when I'm drawing a second line behind the brim of the hat, to give it a little contrast between her hair and such like and create a highlight, I use the pen tool to draw that instead of the pencil because I want to be really close and precise. And I'm also changing the colors so I can actually see what the heck I'm doing. I do this every now and then when I'm working in a dense part of the art. A lot of the time I will create extra layers for a character, like here's the head, here's the hair behind them, here's the arm near in the front, so that I can easily draw at the top or bottom of that particular little stack of paths. I don't do that in this particular drawing because it's a fairly spread out pose. The way I basically think about most of my art is it's cut paper. Each path is another little snippet of paper, and I'm just piling them up until they're in exactly the right order. So sometimes I'll draw something and want to stick it behind other things. Illustrator lets you draw on top of all the paths on the current layer or beneath them. You can toggle this by pressing the D key, which you see me doing a lot. You can also use D to start drawing inside of existing paths, which I do here with the hat. You can see the path that you're currently drawing inside of by the little dotted corners that appear around it, and then everything I draw appears inside of that path and will be clipped by it, like this highlight on the hat here. And now I'm going to skip over me aimlessly flailing while I fail to remember what I designed for her hat. Here, I'm taking a few shapes that I want to be in front of the shading I just drew and bringing them to the top of the stack with Command-Shift right square bracket. And then I decide that I need to pick up that shading and stick it inside of the shape of her head by selecting it for drawing inside and then doing Paste in Place, which is Command-Alt-Shift-V. I'm really not going to have anything else to add for a while, so I'm going to slightly speed up the video so you can still watch a big chunk of process. I'll be back. Alright, here's where I went to actually look at my model sheets and realize how her hat should work. I've got it up as my computer's desktop, and I just use Expose to get rid of the windows for a second to refer to it. Quick and easy. Do a little shading, draw the thing on the front of her hat, grab the brim and put it in front, and hey, that's a hat. That's the right hat. Here you can really see me getting into using the reshaping part of the pencil tool as I draw the cuff of her jacket. I select it and then I just kind of draw over it and it changes. One thing I'd like to mention in passing here is that a lot of people I see doing comics with Illustrator seem to be doing a lot of cut and paste and reuse. And while I can see the reasons for doing that, I personally prefer to draw pretty much everything from scratch. I'll reuse backgrounds here and there. Every now and then I'll cut and paste a character for a still reaction shot. I'm certainly not above using art brushes for repetitive, complicated parts of characters' costumes, but I really just prefer to draw everything from scratch so it better fits the emotions of the story. On the other hand, I don't have a day job, and it's a good week if I get 2 pages out, so I mean, it's your choice. This is an interesting bit of technical trickery. What I'm doing with the tassels on her shoulder pads is I'm drawing lines, and I'm using the appearance palette to add another line behind it and slightly offset it with a live filter. These are really fun to play with because they're redrawn every time you change the line. You can generate a lot of geometry and create some interesting effects by playing with them. Really digging into what the appearance palette can do is kind of outside the scope of this video, but I really recommend sitting down and playing with it and just seeing what kind of things you can do with a simple shape. Here's another little technical trick. I'm putting a pattern fill in her dress, and then I'm scaling and rotating just the pattern fill by selecting the Scale or Rotate tool and then holding down the tilde key as I do the change. It won't work if you're using the free Transform tool, only the Scale or Rotate tools. Now I said I do about 90% of most of my work with the pencil tool. Well, here's a typical example of what I'd use the other tools for. I'm constructing this wine glass with the pen tool and mirroring that stroke and joining it and making a vertical line and changing the width of that line with the variable width tool. And then after I get that right and get it in position, I go back in with the pencil tool and I add some organic shapes for her hand and for the wine splashing out of the glass and the bottom of the glass to give it a little more life and keep it feisty. I think that's about it for this video. I could go on into more technical stuff, but I've shown you my basic workflow. This is what I do for 90% of everything I draw. Here's hoping it gives you a few new ideas on how to make your work in Illustrator a lot more organic and lively. Thanks for watching, and have a great day. Bye!